Hello, lovely YouTubers, booktubers, book lovers, and blog readers alike. It is the final Friday in November, and that means it's time for the last YA Friday for a little while. Now, don't worry, I'm not giving up on YA Friday entirely, so if you subscribe to my channel just above, click the button, you'll be able to know the minute the next YA Friday comes back. I'm just putting it on the back burner for December because I'm working on something else that I'm very excited about. But one or two may pop up throughout the course of the month as well, so like I said, it's really important to subscribe because then you will know the minute they appear online. It is still November though, and there is time for this one last YA Friday for now, so I've decided to mark the fact that Christmas is just around the corner and finish off this lovely November series with the YA novels you just can't go wrong with this Christmas. There are loads of them, most of which I probably won't even be able to include in this video, but sure, I'm going to give it a go anyway, so let's get started. My first recommendation for a YA novel you cannot go wrong with this Christmas is anything by John Green that is not this book. Yep, that's anything by John Green that is not The Fault in Our Stars. Now, by all means, if you haven't read The Fault in Our Stars and you really want to read it, or you know somebody who would love The Fault in Our Stars, grand, go ahead, get it. But if you're totally oversaturated with The Fault in Our Stars, you've had enough of seeing okay on every t-shirt and Primark and pennies and everywhere you go, and you just want to read something different, then don't forget that John Green is actually a very accomplished author who has written more books than The Fault in Our Stars, which wasn't even his first novel. My favourite John Green book is Paper Towns, Looking for Alaska. Just remembering all the books there. Looking for Alaska, which is one of the first he ever wrote, and follows a young guy from Florida who goes off to boarding school and meets a very interesting girl called Alaska who has quite the impact on his life. Paper Towns is also about a guy from Florida who meets a girl who has a big impact on his life, so that's probably why I mixed them up for a second there. Anyway, Looking for Alaska is going to be turned into a movie as well, so you'd kind of do well to go out and read that first before it hits the big screen maybe. Every teenage boy I've asked says they absolutely love John Green. So if you know a lad who might like a book and you think, what can I get him? Then I would suggest checking out Paper Towns, Looking for Alaska, or this little baby, An Abundance of Catherines, which I haven't read yet, but I am quite interested by because the synopsis says that it's about a young guy called Colin Singleton, that'll give you a hint, who has really bad luck with girls named Catherine because he's been dumped by no less than 19 of them. Yep, 19. So he's on a mission to understand what the theory he has about his bad luck with Catherines, and it goes off on a bit of a journey of self-discovery. So there's another one for you to consider. An Abundance of Catherines, Paper Towns, and Looking for Alaska, all not The Fault in Our Stars, all by John Green. My next three recommendations for books you can't go wrong with this Christmas, I'm going to run through very quickly because they're all quite well known and they're all within the same kind of dystopian vein. The first is the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins, which I actually got for Christmas about 3 years, maybe 4 years ago. My mum picked up the box set for me and it's very nice. It's got a lovely Mockingjay pin on either side of it. Very sleek and together. And if you know somebody who has seen the movies but hasn't read the books and you want to utterly destroy them before Mockingjay Part 2 comes out, then I would suggest you pick this up for them for Christmas, or maybe pick it up for yourself. It's such a nice book, or book series, to sit and read on a dark winter's night. And I remember reading them through the end of Christmas Day into St. Stephen's Day, or Boxing Day if people call it that, right the way up till New Year's, although I think I had kind of read one a day because I just tore through them so quickly. So they are a great series to have at hand when you're kind of at a loose end at Christmas and you're kind of looking for something to do that doesn't involve eating more food or having to sit down and talk to relatives that you've had enough of. I'm sure lots of people have lovely relatives. I have lovely relatives, but you know, some people are at their wit's end. What can they do? They can also have a look at Veronica Roth's Divergent trilogy. The Divergent trilogy landed in cinemas earlier this year and has been so popular already. For those of you who aren't familiar with the concept, it's about a young girl called Triss who lives in a world that is divided into factions. And within those factions, there are people that possess one particularly strong personality trait, like say a lack of fear, the need to serve others, intelligence, the need to keep peace, a kind of amity, and then people who always tell the truth no matter what. And on a certain day in their lives, the children from each faction get to decide where they want to go. So Triss moves from the very kind of subservient, I always forget the name of her faction, Abnegation, to the Dauntless, who are like the Fearless. And in that transition and in the learning period and the learning curve, she kind of cops on that something's not right with the world they're living in, and that wall might not be what it seems to be, that is like surrounding the city they live in. And herself and a lovely fella called Four go off on this amazing journey across 3 books, which culminate in this brilliant novel, Allegiant by Veronica Roth, which has one of the best and bravest YA endings I have ever read, and that's why the Divergent trilogy definitely deserves a place in Christmas stockings this Christmas. The last of the 3 books I am talking about in these 3 selections very quickly together is another series, and this is the Maze Runner series by James Dashner. So it's another dystopian. This time it's about a young boy called Thomas who wakes up in the middle of this maze with no memory of who he is or where he's from, just that his name is Thomas, and he discovers a whole host of young lads living in the middle of this maze with no idea how they're going to get out, and they're trying to survive from and escape these horrific creatures called grievers who will scare the bejesus out of you. And it's all been going kind of, they're all finding it manageable until Thomas arrives, and then a girl arrives. And suddenly they realise that the maze ain't going to protect them anymore, and they have to get the hell out of there. And this has been turned into a successful movie series as well, like pretty much every YA book within the last 12 months. And the Maze Runner was such a hit in cinemas, they've already started filming the sequel, The Scorch Trials. So that's going to be out next year. So I would suggest you get your paws on The Maze Runner, The Scorch Trials and The Death Cure, and give them a read to be ahead of the curve. And I think any boy or girl would love to have this one for Christmas. And it's definitely a great read. I flicked through it in no time whatsoever. Great bit of crack reading it. You don't know what's going to happen next. Of course, if you see the movie already, you kind of do. But I'm told that the book and the film are very different. I haven't seen the film yet. So even if you have seen the movie, it's probably well worth giving it a read. Again, you can't go wrong. Finding decent YA novels isn't always easy, especially when you're kind of looking outside those big dystopian trilogies, those big fantasy series, anything that's kind of huge in the cinemas right now. It's kind of impossible to find other books sometimes. You kind of get so overwhelmed by the power of these, big franchises that, you don't know where to look next. But I have always been perusing the YA shelves, and there's one author that comes up again and again and again, and her books are insanely popular. And so if you have somebody that you think would like something a little bit different this Christmas, then I would suggest having a look at anything by Rainbow Rowell. So she's the author of this novel, Eleanor and Park. Now, it's not her first novel, but Eleanor and Park went absolutely mental. It's all over the New York Times bestseller list still, even though it was released a couple of years ago. And it's about a guy and a girl who meet and bond over music and slowly but surely fall in love, but their circumstances, of course, make things incredibly difficult for them. But this is only one of Rainbow Rowell's novels. Her first one, Attachments, I picked up earlier this year, and I picked it up when I was in Birmingham, and it was part of my Birmingham book haul. I still haven't had a chance to read it, which is really unfortunate, because it's about 2 girls who are sending messages to each other in an office, and the guy in IT starts reading the messages they're sending to each other, i.e. the attachments, yep, that's clever, and falls in love with one of them. So there's another kind of interesting tale. Eleanor and Park, by the way, is also set quite a few years ago. You'll get lots of X-Men comic references in it, which is fantastic for me. Anyway, it took me a good while to get through it, but it was well worth the read. And then one of her more recent ones, she has 2 out lately. The most recent, I can't remember the name of, but I will include it in my blog post on this topic, which you can find over at itsstrawberryblonde.com, which I've linked to down in the bottom, just there in the description box. I can't remember the most recent one, but Fangirl was another one that was released earlier this year, and my boyfriend picked this up for me because he thought I would really enjoy it, because there's a girl in it who writes fan fiction. So it's about a girl who writes fan fiction and has a twin brother, and I used to write fan fiction when I was very young, very, very young, 10 years ago. Not about McFly and Busted, I swear. Oh God. Embarrassing admissions over. Fangirl is one of her more recent ones and was hugely popular when it came out. And was also probably on the New York Times bestseller list at one point or another. So Rainbow Rowell has really established herself as one of the best YA authors out there. So if you're looking for something not dystopian, kind of more modern, some of them going back in time, then I would suggest picking up anything by her, because yourself or the person you pick it up for will be delighted. The next novel I'm going to talk about is the first one I've ever been sent by a PR company. So I didn't buy this one myself. I was sent it in exchange for a review of it, and I'm only including it in this video because I'm actually quite intrigued by it. And it's been huge this year. It was released earlier this year, and it's being called the novel that will do for witches what Twilight did for vampires. Now, I wasn't a huge Twilight fan, but I do love novels about magic and witches, and I read an amazing series called the Wicca series when I was younger. And this one is called Half Bad, and it's by an author called Sally Green. She's from England. And it tells the story of a young man called Nathan, whose mother was a white witch, whose father was a black witch, and a dark witch, I should say. It's not white and black in terms of race, it's just white witches and dark witches. So his mother was a healer, his father is kind of an evil creature, and Nathan doesn't know where he lies in the middle of them all. I think to read the synopsis, which I'm going to do, because like I said, I haven't read this yet, but I am incredibly intrigued by it. If I can find the page. Yeah. Nathan Byrne is half bad. He's half white witch, half black witch. His mother was a healer. His father is a killer. He's wanted by no one, but hunted by everyone. Now, I've been hearing really great things about this book, and I was sent it by the lovely people who are working with the YA Book Prize, because obviously I've been doing YA videos. So I am quite intrigued to see what this one is about. And I've seen it flying off the shelves recently. I didn't realise, I hadn't even spotted it in the bookshop. So I'm quite interested to have come across it. And I think if people like reading stories about witches, particularly about dark witches and dark magic and light magic, and anybody who's kind of intrigued by the supernatural would really probably consider giving this one a go, because I'm going to give it a go, and I will let you know over the course of the next kind of 6 weeks or so how I get on with it and what I think about it. And so, you know, you can't go wrong with that kind of thing at Christmas now, can you? I could not make a list of YA novels that you couldn't go wrong with all Christmas without including at least one by an Irish author. And I am so thrilled to talk about this book again. It's Only Ever Yours by Louise O'Neill. And it's about these girls who are growing up in a world where women are schooled in how to please men, how to be the right kind of woman for a man. And at the end of it, their options are to be picked as a wife, to learn to teach women to do the exact same thing as they've been learning, or to go and be an outcast and have no life whatsoever. So Only Ever Yours is all about that. It's all about women having to compete with each other. And it is so critically acclaimed that it won the Board Gosh Energy Book Awards here in Ireland last night. She was named the best newcomer for this book. So I am so excited to read it. I have had it for weeks and I really wish I had had time to sit down and read it. But I am told it is utterly fantastic. So if you want a YA novel by an Irish author for Christmas, I would highly recommend going out and checking out this one, because it has been spoken about so highly by so many people, including a fantastic Irish YA teen author called Anna Carey, who writes the so highly spoken of, I suppose, Rebecca series. So if Anna Carey is telling me that this one's going to be decent, then I'm going to trust her. And if the Board Gosh Energy Book Awards are telling me it's decent, I'm going to trust them. And I'm going to sit down and read Louise O'Neill's utterly magnificent novel, that's what it's called, Only Ever Yours. So you never know, might do the trick for you for Christmas too. The next YA novel I want to talk about is on my Christmas wish list, and it's called We Were Liars by an author called E.L. Lockhart. It's another one actually that Anna Carey has recommended, and it's all about a family, a very, very well-to-do family called the Sinclairs, who own this private island in Massachusetts. So they have a 15-year-old in the family called Candace, who goes off to the island, and while she's there, something really terrible happens to her, but she can't remember what it is. All she knows is that it's left her completely devastated, both physically and mentally. Now, this novel has been spoken about by so many people. I've seen a lot of booktubers reviewing it on Goodreads, and a lot of the reviews are just one word: wow. So I really want this one for Christmas. So Santa Claus, if you're listening or watching, please drop it down my chimney, because I would love, love, love to read it. Speaking of popular YA novels that will do the trick for Christmas, The Iron Trial by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare is bound to be up there with one of the most asked for. So it's all about a young guy called Callum who has grown up his whole life terrified of magic and magicians and the magisterium, and he really wants to avoid it. And he knows that to get into the magisterium, you have to pass the Iron Trial. So he does everything he can not to pass the Iron Trial, and you know what happens? He passes the Iron Trial. Now, I haven't read this one myself, but I do know that Holly Black is a fantastic author. She's the woman behind the Spiderwick Chronicles and some other incredible fairy tales, and then Cassandra Clare wrote the incredibly popular Mortal Instruments series, which I've read in its entirety. Actually, the final one, City of Heavenly Fire, came out earlier this year, so if you know somebody who was reading that series and hasn't read the last book, can also slip that in as a YA novel that might do for Christmas. Or actually the whole Mortal Instruments series. They're not bad. They're decent. Last, but by no means least, is the YA novel that is already flying off shelves, that is going to be everywhere this Christmas, and I would highly suggest, if you want to get, or you want to get for somebody else, you go out and get it now. It is Girl Online by Zoe Sugg, aka Zoella, the YouTuber with over 6 million subscribers who can basically do no wrong right now. This girl is insanely popular. Her other half, Alfie, aka Pointless Blog, wrote The Pointless Book, which was a Sunday Times bestseller. Zoe's book, Girl Online, is already #1 on Amazon. It is bound to be the Christmas bestseller this year. So if you know a young girl or a young guy who really enjoys Zoe's videos, go out and get them Girl Online, because it is going to fly off shelves. I cannot stress how quickly this is going to fly off shelves. I picked it up in Dublin the other day. I wouldn't normally pay $15.99 for a book. I'm not going to lie. I don't have that much money, but I did get it as part of a 3 for 2. I went in just to get this and ended up going out with 3 books, as you do. But Girl Online is about a young girl called Penny who blogs about her hidden feelings and her emotions and how she feels about anxiety specifically, which I know is something Zoe Sugg deals with. She blogs about it all under the alias Girl Online. And while she's blogging, she meets this guy when her parents whisk her off to New York. So she goes off to New York and falls in love with this rock star guy. And as she kind of gets closer to him, she runs the risk of having her Girl Online alias being totally destroyed. So it's all very high stakes, and if you watch Zoe's videos, you'll know exactly what's in this book already. I haven't had a chance to get through it yet. I've only just had it in about 24 hours. But you know what? At 25, I'm really excited about reading this. I actually am. It's one of the books I wanted for Christmas because I think the girl does no harm. And I don't think you can go wrong if you get this for Christmas. In fact, if you get this for somebody for Christmas who's in Zoe's fan club or whatever, they'll probably love you for life. So that's another one. And my final one I would recommend as a YA novel that you just can't go wrong with this Christmas. So there you have it, my last YA Friday for November, jam-packed with recommendations for books that you can pick up for yourself or for somebody else, or you can borrow. You know, you don't have to buy anything, borrow books, share books around. That's a great way to actually read more books, is to share them with your friends and swap and do things like that. It's a fantastic way to make sure that you kind of don't blow all your money, because I don't have that much and I know I have to borrow books from friends sometimes just so I don't break the bank. It has been an absolute joy to do YA Friday right the way through November. I'm really looking forward to the YA Book Prize shortlist finally being revealed, because the YA Book Prize, all about YA novels and YA authors from the UK and Ireland, is what inspired me to start this series in the first place. And I look forward to sharing more YA reviews and more YA book recommendations over on my blog. It's strawberryblonde.com, which I've linked to down in the bottom. As I said at the start, be sure to subscribe to find out when the next YA Friday will be, and also to make sure you do not miss out on the very special Christmassy themed book videos that I am going to be making very, very soon, that I am very excited about. And if you want to know where I got this deadly Hogwarts jumper, I suggest you stay tuned too, because I have a very exciting Harry Potter themed video coming up soon that you will not want to miss. So like I said, never been more important to click that subscribe button, and give the video a thumbs up if you've been enjoying my book videos and you'd like to see more. And if there's any kind of specific videos you'd like to see, drop me a comment down below. I'm totally open to suggestions. So until next time, until my new Christmassy videos, and until the next YA Friday, thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you all again soon. And of course, as always, happy reading.